set, hit.
Welcome to Out of Bounds, presented by Isaac's Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm Marie Montgomery, joined by Dan Reefer and Alex Walker. The football Cats are bowl eligible, and Mark Stoops is not bolting for Florida State. We'll get into that later, but first, Coach Cal's Cats. Yeah,
Kentucky playing in its second game in 3 days, hosting Lamar tonight. A team with some impressive stats this season in scoring defense, field goal percentage defense, rebounds, and steals.
Yeah, so far this season, though, you don't know what you're going to get from the Cats. And Lamar is 4-1, by the way.
Well, let's take a look. Here are the top plays from this game presented by Kentucky Greenleaf.
This is game 3 of 4 in the BBN Showcase. The Cats firing on all cylinders in the opening minutes. Ashton Hagens, 3 of his 15 points. Kentucky opening the game on a 10-0 run. Yeah, call a timeout, collect your breath. Hagens also with 9 dimes. Here is one to Keon Brooks. Freshman had 9 points tonight, but Lamar down 15-2, comes all the way back to tie the game at 19.
Oh my God.
Davian Buster. We'll just call him Dave and Buster.
That's what I thought you said.
That's when Kentucky unleashes its fury. Tyrese Maxey, bang. Maxey again, all kinds of confidence. The freshman from Dallas had 21 tonight. 12 of those
from Dallas.
Dude from the logo. A 20-0 first half run. Kentucky hitting 10 threes tonight. Nick, that dude's got a family.
On your head. On your head.
Look at the stat line. 10 points, 13 rebounds, 7 blocks.
Oh! The Jamaican flying high.
Yeah.
Nick Richards, more of the same in the second half after leading by 20 at halftime. And then it's Tyrese Maxey, one of Kentucky's 6 steals tonight. The Cats shooting 50% from the floor. 81-56 is your final. Maxey, Hagens, Quickly, and Richards all in double figures.
And here are the post-game comments sponsored by the Bob Allen Motor Mall.
19 assists. That's what I'm looking for. Now, some of the others, when we didn't have big assists, maybe we missed a whole lot of shots, like wide open. We're starting to make shots. It's, 22 is about what we want to shoot, 20 to 22 threes. We're playing faster. My team's to shoot 33s, we're not going to win. Getting to the line, we did not post the ball up a ton. Again, offensive rebounding in the second half. The beginning of the second half for 10, 12 minutes, we just didn't bring it like we did in the first half.
Well, despite that, something it may not show is that the arena was so loud. I don't know if y'all can hear that in the clips, but it was awesome. So what did y'all think about the Cats?
Well, Nick Richards' stat line is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was crazy.
10 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 blocks. I had to double check that to make sure that was correct. And Nick, the last couple weeks has finally coming into his own and proving to be that force that Kentucky needs in the front court.
He's absolutely got to feast on these lesser opponents as they go through the non-conference. He has to keep playing really well and keep getting better and better because they're going to need 10 and 13 or 19 and 8 or 5 blocks or 4 blocks from him against Louisville and the SEC opponents. So it's good to see him eat, see the big man eat. And then Tyrese Maxey, for him to come back and start playing the way like we saw in Michigan State game. I think that was nice.
Yeah, when you go on a 20-0 run, I don't think we'll see that again this season. Again, I don't care who they're playing. 20-0 is ridiculous.
You can't complain about that.
And Tyrese, one of those kids that you can never fault his shot selection. If he shoots it at half court, it might go in. So if you're Calipari, you got to love the kid's confidence.
And the one other thing is the last 2 games, Friday now and tonight, Kentucky has shot the ball really well from the 3-point line, and that was a big concern leading up to this.
Yeah, 10 threes tonight. Cal thinks this could be his best 3-point shooting team ever, and tonight they looked the part for sure.
And that's saying something. So coming up next on Out of Bounds, we switch right over to football. So we will hear from Mark Stoops' response to reports saying that he met with Florida State, plus the best moments from UK's win over UT Martin. Welcome back to Out of Bounds. Mark Stoops' name has been linked to the opening at Florida State for weeks now, but then 24/7 Sports reported that Stoops met with FSU recently.
Yeah, so the story goes, and this is from the 24/7 Sports report that cited an anonymous source, that Stoops met with FSU in Cincinnati last week, but didn't get the feeling that he was their top choice and that he wasn't offered the job, but they just wanted to gauge his interest.
Yeah, kind of like, hey, if we can't get who we want, would you still be interested in Stoops? And reportedly took himself out of consideration for the job. Here's what he said post-game after that UT Martin win.
Oh, I'm not going to get into specifics, but I just, Florida State, I had a great experience there. It afforded me the opportunity to be here, and I love it here. I've been very fortunate. I have great administration. Dr. Capilouto, Mitch Barnhart, they've been so good to me. The fans, our players, recruits, and this is where my heart is. This is where I want to be. So I'm going to be at Kentucky. Now, I just felt like I was answering too many questions with recruits, and just felt like it was time to answer those questions directly and be honest with them, and this is where I want to be.
Well, obviously, Stoops staying should be good news for the Big Blue Nation. From the time he got here to where the program is now, he's done an outstanding job.
Yeah, and there are plenty of, stats, numbers that I could recite to support his success. You really don't need to hear those to know how important it is to keep him at Kentucky.
Just take this season with the quarterback injuries. Honestly, who saw UK becoming bowl eligible with Lynn Bowden at quarterback? He's a wide receiver, more than half of the games into the season. Bowden certainly did think they were going to go to the postseason.
I mean, it means a lot to us, me personally, because everybody doubted us, just making the switch. They said we weren't going to be good. I mean, our record don't show, but I think we're a pretty damn good team. So
it means a lot. We faced a lot of adversity this year, just with, like I said, even having a receiver at quarterback and Lynn, and him stepping up and doing a spectacular job throughout the season. And I feel like as a team, we've been through a lot, but we handled it so well. And now we're bowl eligible. We get to play another game with our seniors and go out with a bang.
All right, so let's get into some of the impressive things from UK's game against UT Martin.
And let me just say this. Some fans I know look at last week's game against Vanderbilt and go, yeah, that was Vandy. And then they look at this game yesterday and say, well, that's what's supposed to happen. It's an FCS school. Well, exactly. I mean, UK has not dominated these games the way they should in recent years, or historically even. And I mean, longtime UK football fans, you know this.
You do, and there's something to be said for beating the teams you're supposed to beat and not struggling against inferior competition, and Kentucky did that Saturday.
And did it in impressive fashion. The defense held UT Martin to 10 total yards in the first half, wow. 204 yards for the game. That makes 5 straight now. The Cats have held the opponent to less than 300 yards of offense.
UK winds up with a season-high 6 sacks and 11 tackles for loss. The Cats' Calvin Taylor is now tied for the most sacks in the SEC this season with 7.5. Impressive.
My favorite defensive play of the game was what Marquand McCall did to the UT Martin center right here. McCall's nickname is Bully, and that's exactly what he did on that play right there.
That kid has to quit football now. Sorry, buddy.
Well, offensively, Lynn Bowden didn't do anything to make you feel better about him as a passer, but he continued to beat defenders with his feet.
Yeah, he ran for 129 yards. That's a lot.
No big deal.
And with that, he surpassed Mike Fanuzzi for the most 100-yard rushing games by a Kentucky quarterback. Bowden has done it now in 5 of the 6 games he started at quarterback. In the game he didn't rush for 100, he went for 99. Bowden
is now only 49 yards shy of 1,000 for the season. He has joined Randall Cobb as the only other Wildcat with 1,000 yards in a career receiving, rushing, and kick returns.
Incredible. Yeah, Mark Stoops said after the game that if Bowden doesn't get the Paul Hornung Award for college football's most versatile player, then they should just get rid of it and throw it in the trash.
I agree. Now, last week people were crushing Nick Saban for having Tua Tagovailoa in the game when Alabama was up big. That was in the first half. Bowden started the second half for UK in a game the Cats were leading 29-0, but Bowden hadn't hit that 100-yard rushing mark yet, and he came out the moment he did.
I couldn't get him out with one more series. He wanted one more series, at least a few more snaps. So we did want to do that anyway, though, because we felt like we started the game a bit sloppy and wanted to start the second half clean and have a good drive with our offense.
I wanted it, Coach ain't want to agree with it, but so just because he told me anything bad happened, he's gonna get on me. So after I got it, I just wanted to get out.
Well, Bowden wasn't the only Wildcat with a big rushing performance. As a matter of fact, UK ran the ball so well that the Cats broke a record that had stood for 68 years.
Kentucky rushes for 462 yards, which breaks the school record for most of the games set back in 1951. I mean, we're talking Bear Bryant days.
Yeah, A.J. Rose went over 100 yards rushing. True freshman Travis Tisdale had a 53-yard run, and walk-on Tyler Markray, special moment, had a 45-yard touchdown run. Everybody got a touch.
All told, 16 different Wildcats got to play in their first collegiate game Saturday. There were a ton of guys on defense who got in there. Even QB Amani Gilmore, who made this handoff to Markray right there, played a few snaps.
And all those guys getting to play is the reason that Cash Daniel was not in uniform when he came out of the locker room at halftime.
Yeah, he wasn't hurt.
Right.
And there's been some confusion on what the deal was. UK says Cash knew he wasn't playing in the second half. UK's entire starting defensive line sat out the second half, too. So it wasn't just Cash, but UK says Cash asked if he could change out of his wet uniform, and they said, okay.
Chris Oates didn't play, and Stoops said it was a violation of team rules. But Oates will be back for the Louisville game. He'll be much needed. Also, DeAndre Square was out. Stoops said he's just a little banged up, and he'll be ready to go for the Governor's Cup coming up on Saturday.
And coming up next on Out of Bounds, we're going to discuss that Governor's Cup, and wait till you hear what Lynn Bowden had to say about it. And speaking of Louisville, a really cool move by a former Cardinal in Twitter Fire next. Every week, we try to find cool or funny or touchy moments that find their way onto social media. We have one in each of our editions of Twitter Fire, brought to you by C2G Environmental. So let's start with funny. Well, it was comical to some, but serious to the students involved.
Yeah, students at the Harvard-Yale game came on the field to protest climate change, delaying the game for about 40 minutes. That's so Ivy League.
It's so Ivy League.
If students tried to pull that off at the Iron Bowl next week, they'd get tased, bro.
All right, from funny, kinda, to touching, which takes us to Youngstown State's game Saturday.
Yeah, this was special. Youngstown State is up 21-3 with 10 seconds left, and they call a timeout to bring in quarterback Nathan Mays, who suffered a season-ending injury earlier this season, to allow him to take his final snap of his career on senior day. That was a special gesture by Penguins coach Bo Pelini. That was really cool.
I love that stuff. Well, now to a more cool move by former Louisville Cardinal Donovan Mitchell.
Mitchell, one of the star players for the Utah Jazz, asked for someone to bring down a couple kids who were sitting in the nosebleeds. He then gives them both a brand new pair of his shoes, signs them, and gives them courtside seats for the game. Those kids will never, ever forget that. They'll be talking about that when they're grown-ups.
I love it that he chose them from the very top. That's
right.
That's so cool.
Yeah, from the cheap seats.
Yeah, well, from a little love for a former Cardinal to a current Wildcat who refuses to say the name of the school located about 79 miles west of Lexington.
Who?
You're going to want to hear Lynn Bowden's comments on the Governor's Cup. They're coming up next on Out of Bounds. Welcome back to Out of Bounds. And college football always delivers, even on the Saturdays when it looks like they aren't very many great matchups. Something crazy always happens, and that was once again the case right here. All the talk when the college football playoff rankings were released Tuesday was how, if Oregon beats Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, that will be the Ducks' path to the playoffs.
But that's why they play the game. 5-5 Arizona State upsets number 6 Oregon in Tempe. That bomb late was the difference. And as Coach Herm Edwards says, you play to win the game.
What a strike.
Oh, man. And then there was the battle for bragging rights in Miami, but no one figured FIU had a chance against the Hurricanes.
Dude, Miami, you got to be embarrassed, bro.
Yeah.
FIU believed and handed the U a big fat L. Take the L. It's the school's first ever win against a Power 5 school. The victory also gets Florida International Bowl eligible under former Hurricanes head coach Butch Davis. That's got to be sweet.
And now to the SEC, and Texas A&M nearly knocked out Georgia out of the playoff race.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher's Aggies made it tough on the Dogs, but DeAndre Swift had a couple of big runs late to seal it for Georgia, which finishes up the regular season next week with the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech.
There you go. And finally to Louisville, the Cardinals beat Syracuse on senior day to get the 7 wins.
The Cards put up ridiculous numbers in this game. Quarterback Mikhail Cunningham threw 5 touchdown passes and ran for another touchdown.
Running back Javion Hawkins set the school record for most rushing yards by a freshman with 233. He also has the record for most rushing yards in a season by a freshman.
Receivers Tutu Atwell posted his 6th game of 100 or more yards receiving to put him over 1,000 for the season. And it marks just the 3rd time in U of L history and the first time since 1999 that the Cards have had a 1,000-yard rusher and receiver in the same season, the Scott Satterfield effect.
Now, the flip side is that Syracuse, which is now 1-6 in the ACC and 4-7 overall, put up 510 yards of offense and 34 points on Louisville. So maybe that's why UK's Lynn Bowden is fine providing the Cards with some bulletin board material.
It's rivalry week, so it's going to be a lot of hooting and hollering going on this week.
What's the Louisville game mean to a guy who's not?
You said what?
What's the Louisville game mean to a guy? That other team from the West?
That's better.
What's it mean to a guy who's not from here, and how have you learned to embrace that rivalry?
It's a rivalry. It's like the Steelers and the Browns. You know, got to embrace it. You know, that other team over there, you know, they wear the opposite color of us. So.
Is it safe to say you guys are the Steelers?
Yeah, we the Steelers. We the Steelers. That's my team, though. So we the Steelers. We the Steelers. Definitely the Steelers.
You got any message for the fans of that other team this week?
Stay where y'all at. Don't jump on our bad way. I'll see y'all tomorrow, man.
All right. So you think Lynn doesn't like Louisville?
Who?
Yeah, where?
Well, there's no doubt that will make it into the Louisville locker room if it hasn't already.
It's already on that bulletin board, quite literally. UK has opened up as a 4-point favorite over the Cardinals, and Kentucky offensive coordinator Eddie Gran says the Cats got started on some plays for Louisville last week and did not show his hand in the game Saturday against UT Martin.
Well, a lot has been hidden, which is great. You know, we worked on a lot of things this last week, and I did not call them. So we're a week ahead. So that's a really good thing.
And we are going to have so much more to preview the Governor's Cup on Fox 56 Wednesday night, Thanksgiving Eve at 10:30. It's the football feast. We'll hear from both Mark Stoops and Louisville coach Scott Satterfield. Plus, we're going to talk to several media members from Lexington and Louisville on this game. UK quarterback commit Bo Allen will be with us right here in this studio for an interview. We're also going to preview the high school football state semifinal matchups. All of that is coming up this Wednesday night at 10:30 on the Fox 56 football feast with Brian Milam and me.
Very cool. And last year you guys had Wan'Dale Robinson on, and that's when he was still committed to UK. But instead of Jeff Brom were to leave Purdue for Louisville, that Wan'Dale would consider flipping to the Cards. And of course, he winds up at Nebraska. That was a special moment.
That's why you watch. I mean, who knows what Bo Allen's going to say, right?
Who knows? All right. Well, coming up next on Out of Bounds, as always, we finish with our Coach's Corner. And this week, it's LSU's Ed Orgeron and some not so flattering comments about the opponent. Welcome back to Out of Bounds. It's time for our Coach's Corner, and this week we have LSU's Ed Orgeron, who was less than complimentary after the Bayou Bengals beat down out of Arkansas on Saturday. Here is our Coach's Corner, brought to you by West Shore Home.
No, that's right. That was going to be not too much of a celebration to beat Arkansas. They haven't beaten anybody in a long time. So we were supposed to win that football game, and on to Texas A&M.
All right, y'all.
Way to roast them.
Yeah. Well, on to our turn. So it's Governor Cup week. What do you think?
I'm going 29-27 Cats.
I think Kentucky's defense, they've been so good this year, they got to play it next level next week.
Yeah.
Mikhail Cunningham, Tutu Atwell, so dangerous. I got Kentucky 30, Louisville 27.
It's a 3-point spread or a 4-point spread.
It's going to be
Seeing
real
where
tight.
you look. I mean,
There you go.
watch out.
All right. See you next week.